What's up, people? Hey, we are here for our recruiting show with Chris Mason, Mr. Students 360 himself. Real quick, let me get out of this studio mode. There we go. You have me, your host, Chris with a K, Orange Down Podcast, and you have Mr. Chris Mason himself. So definitely go down there, like, subscribe, do those two things first before anything. Wipe your feet, subscribe, follow us, people. We're trying to get these shows to 1,000 subscribers. We are, steadily approaching that, and we're doing pretty damn good. Good, honest OU content, nothing else. We'll talk about a little bit other stuff as well, but we just love talking about OU, and we love talking about recruiting tonight. Chris Mason, how you doing?
I am doing good. It is a good place to be part of a college football playoff participant university fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are a participant. We have a really cool matchup or rematch, the grudge match, the rubber match against Alabama. Can't wait for that next Friday night. We will be watching college football. But for now, Chris Mason, we got to jump in here and talk about recruiting. Obviously, it looks like things are still hot on the 2027 trails. We just picked up a pretty big commitment from a D lineman. So the floor is yours. I'll let you go ahead and tell us about that commitment.
Yeah, it's Elijah Harmon. He is from California, from the SoCal area. He's 6'3", 300 pounds. He had a very good sophomore year. On the camp circuit, he was probably one of the top five defensive tackles for 2027 while working out at various places, along with Jalen Brewster. He injured his knee in August, not an ACL, just a meniscus. Had to have some cleanup done, which meant that he missed. He missed his junior year, which is a little bit of a bummer. But OU stuck with him through this process. He fits what OU wants in terms of a defensive tackle, very active, 300-pound plus defensive tackle by the time he probably makes it to Norman. I mean, Oregon, USC, were probably the other two big teams involved. So that'll tell you exactly where he was, where his value is, where he's valued. And he's the first defensive tackle for 2027. It's not a deep pool of defensive tackles in this class, at least so far. OU hasn't offered a lot of kids. OU obviously kind of suffered a setback when Jalen Brewster chose the big money suitcase from Lubbock. So I'm not sure that OU can flip that like they did with Cooper Hackett. So this was a big pickup. This starts the class. He's a top 200 rated player. I think if he's healthy and he goes through the camp circuit, again, I think he could easily rise back up into like the top 100 range. He's got that kind of talent. So to steal this kid from California, from USC badly wants him, so they'll continue to recruit him. But I think OU's established a good place, and I like Todd Bates from a position of relationship strength and getting this guy on board early. So this is a big acquisition. Defensive tackle is, just as we know, is a key position. OU only signed two guys last week instead of the three that they wanted, but and they only signed one the previous year, Trenton Wilson. So OU needs to probably sign three guys, and we'll talk a little bit about the scholarship number game that OU has, where I think three defensive tackles make a lot of sense this year. So
Let's go ahead and segue into that. It looks like that's the next topic that's up. It's 105 ships. It seems like that is the number that you talk about on and off the screen. Is that going to be a real number here in the SEC? People, if you don't know, we're at 85. That's a rule for the SEC, but the Big Ten, I think some other conferences are at the 105 already, right?
yeah, but I'm not sure how much they've really been focused on that.
Yeah.
In terms of really signing 105 true scholarship players. But the SEC voted this week, voted before the weekend games to move to 105 scholarships. That is official. OU, I think, was operating under the presumption that it would be official. So that means that OU, you saw OU add players at the end of the class. They added an extra linebacker in Tristan Moore. They added another backer and defensive end in Bathurst, Dane Bathurst. They tried to add another defensive lineman in Malike Franklin, who went elsewhere. They tried to add a couple of offensive linemen. So we had pretty much thought the OU recruiting class, based on the 85 number, was going to be somewhere in the 22 range. But obviously OU signed 24 and was willing to sign as many as 28, maybe go as high as 29, if some of their feelers out there had landed folks who wanted to visit. Like, they went with Davion Gross as well on the day before signing day. They tried to make that work, and I think we're getting used a little bit, but that's an old topic. We're not going to focus on that anymore. But yeah, I think, Chris, the 105 number changes things considerably. I think if you in your mind you were thinking that with an 85 number, you sort of you didn't want to sign more than like 100 kids in a 4-year time period. So if you've got 20 more scholarships, I think over a 4-year time period, I think you want to be closer to about 120. So I think you're talking class sizes every year, high school wise, of closer to 28 to 30.
Yeah, I mean, you take as many kids as you can. You try to figure out who are the late bloomers, and that's a path that I thought we were always going to take anyways, because if there wasn't such a constant shift in the landscape of college football, the recruiting trail, the playing field, the tournament, the college football playoff, at some point you just thought, okay, well, the Taylor Wine effect is going to happen every single cycle for these guys, because they're going to recruit hard to get those early signees, but they're also going to recruit and maybe not Taylor Wine per se, but you get what I'm saying. As far as just later in the cycle, trying to still figure out if there's a couple of hidden gems out there. You get what I'm saying? With this staff at the very least, and especially now with Nagy and crew. But I think that they're trying to identify kids as quick as possible. But yeah, no, the 105, I think that's definitely needed. I think that now you have a little bit legway, and you can shelve some kids to try to get them to mature and progress as they need to. Because it's paying dividends for us.
Yeah, I think definitely with the OU staff, the way OU staff is built, and with Nagy scouring film for guys that, okay, this guy isn't quite there. I put him in our program for 2 years. He's going to be there, right? Okay, so you could see OU adding, you're like, well, why do we have these like 5 3-star guys added at the end of the class? Well, they're at developmental guys because we have more roster room, and there's no point, and we don't have NIL money and house settlement money to sign 5 more 5-stars. If you listen to the Oklahoma Breakdown today, Jim Nagy was clearly telling you that you can recruit 10 5-stars, but you don't have the money to sign them.
Yeah.
So you got to space things out. You got to. It's like And no, NFL teams don't want more than like 2 or 3 first-round draft picks. They don't want 5 first-round draft picks because it doesn't help them. It doesn't work. The salary cap doesn't like that. It doesn't work that way. And that's what we're going to see more and more with the bigger programs from that perspective. But the last couple of points, Chris, I took everybody I could pull from the OU roster and pushed them into their 2026 classifications. I think I got everybody from the kicking special teams group that I think has a scholarship, or at least should have a scholarship. From that perspective, I looked at all of that, and OU moving into the transfer portal season, Chris, OU is at 98 people, 98 spots on a 105 roster, counting the recruiting class we just signed.
Oh, well, I mean, we could talk about that because you still got
we still have exits coming. We have exits coming.
Hey, real quick, let's look at this question here. Any word on Joseph Graves, 2026 Tulsa D tackle, currently at IMG?
No, he had a good year at IMG. He's not put out like a Final 5 or a Final 10. There are no rumors or whispers that he's getting ready to go. I'm going to talk about another defensive tackle who is about to commit in about 30 days, well, actually closer to 3 weeks. With some of the guys that OU's recruiting, I'm not sure where Graves is on the take list. I'm not sure where he is on that board. But with OU taking more scholarship players, you could. This is where you can take a guy like Graves, and if he's slightly lower on your board, you can sign him, stash him for 2 years, and then he could be like Marcus Strong. He could be like, okay, I've got something here now. From that perspective, so we'll see. The 105 number changes a lot of our perceptions and beliefs about roster management numbers and how many guys OU can sign and bring in at various positions. I just think it's using old school logic, using 85 logic. I wonder if OU has room for him. With 105, if he's your fourth defensive tackle in the class, is that a problem, really? I'm not sure it is.
Yeah. Let's go to your third topic, which is a recap of recent 2027 verbals.
Yeah, just because there was so much action going on. Just a reminder that OU got Trayvon Hall from Tuscaloosa on the Sunday before signing day. So that's the second wide receiver in the class. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds. So he's not a big guy. And Damari Duzerne also is not that big. Those two guys are both fast, agile, big play, small receivers. But if OU is looking for a third receiver in the class, maybe a bigger guy is kind of maybe where they'll be leaning. So we'll have to see how that works out. And then they got a surprising verbal from Keldred Ben from Montgomery, Texas. He's a 1,500-yard running back with a 10-yard per carry average. His film's great, but that gives OU two running backs for the class, which, Chris, again, 85 logic says OU's done at running back.
Yeah.
105 logic says if you find a back you really like, can you go to three backs in the class, especially since Jackson Stokes is more of an all-purpose back, third down back. He's not a slam it between the tackles kind of back. So that's interesting there. So those two verbals plus Elijah Harmon put OU at, let me get the right screen here. And yep. So that puts OU at 11 verbal commitments with 184 points on the 247 system. To everyone out there who, just to clarify for those that can't seem to get this right, On3 Rivals rankings right now are only based upon the score of 2 commits. This is why Texas Tech is still number 1 and OU is 2 or 3, because it's basically Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny versus Tavion Bryant and Jalen Brewster for Texas Tech. So OU's got more commits with better values, but On3 right now Rivals is only using this two recruit number. They're only counting the value of 2 recruits. And until they change that number, OU can add every player they want, but they're not going to jump Texas Tech on those rankings. So
it's like On3 is always trying to do something spiteful, right?
well, they're just. I mean, they're putting a quantity cap on it, right? It's very early. Actually, they just moved it to 3, and OU is barely trailing Tech because they got this wide receiver with a silly name, and by silly name I mean Benny Easter Bunny. His name's Benny Easter Jr., but you might as well call him the Easter Bunny. So they have 4 commits. Their top 3, they actually got 5. They picked up some other guy I've not heard of. A couple of D-line I've not heard of really. So they're at 5 guys total. We're at 11, and they're barely beating us by a couple of hundredths of a point. So and On3 hasn't ranked several of our players. Hasn't really ranked a couple of our players. So that's where it is. It's so we're 2 or 1 depending upon what you're looking at. If they go up to 4, if once on 3 goes up to 4, OU should be back at number 1 on both categories.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Okay.
So obviously, I didn't even see this one from Urban. He says, rumor has it that they are planning to offer 11 in the in-state players. Is that true? That kind of segues into your last topic that you wanted to talk about, which is who is next for 2027.
Okay, so presuming Urban's talking about 2027 kids,
Uh huh.
they did offer 11 kids scholarships. They're not signing. They already have 11 verbal commitments. They're not, and only one of them and 2 of them are in state, Hackett and Penny. So there's 9 kids left.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll probably sign 4 more kids in state. Samaje Stanford, Cooper Alexander, Case Alexander. It's his brother Cooper's at Iowa State. Sorry, Case Alexander, Samaje Stanford, Case Alexander, Ben Kolar, and then Gabriel Osborne, I think, would be the other guy that they get. Those 4 players. So I'll repeat that again. Gabriel Osborne, Samaje Stanford, Ben Kolar, and Case Alexander. That would give them 6 in-state players for the class. I don't think they're going to sign Titus Hawk, the tight end from Choctaw, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to sign, I believe his name's Bryce Brown. He's a cornerback, I think at Broken Arrow. Graves, I don't consider an in-state player at this point because he's at IMG. I'm trying to think who else they've offered. Colton McComb, linebacker from Edmond. I'm not sure they'll have room for him. So that's kind of where they are. Those are the names on the outside. I'm close. So maybe I'm missing a name, but I'm really close with those guys. But I think that's the 4 they get, and they'll miss out on the other players I mentioned.
Urban says so. They are just backing off the offers.
No, it's first come, first served. So if they get Gabriel Osborne, they probably have a cornerback position assigned to someone else, like Darius Johnson from California, Juju Johnson, Montre Jackson, guys they all have rated higher than Bryce Brown, the guy at Broken Arrow. So it's more of the fact that they've already gotten 2 cornerback DB verbals. They probably are the big leader for Gabriel Osborne. They were the leader for Juju Johnson, and Montre Jackson is somebody they've been recruiting for 3 years, and they also have highly rated. So at linebacker, then I don't know if they get Cooper Witten and Case Alexander. They're probably looking for a big Mike linebacker. Colton McComb maybe falls out of that. And they've been recruiting some other big tight ends. So if they get Ben Kolar and get another tight end out of state, that doesn't leave them with the room necessarily for Titus Hawk, who also wants to play baseball, and I think that's holding things up a little bit. So it's not that they're backing off these offers. It's just they're on a heater recruiting-wise, and they keep adding big-time kids. So UNCTG says, yep, I think you're right. Samaje Stanford is a guy that they'll hold a spot for him. They will.
That's That's
Okay, he's on their top 4 take list at safety. They will hold a spot for him. He will have to choose somebody else first. But OU's fighting UGA and a couple other programs for Stanford. So he's their preferred target there. Ben Kolar, Iowa State's in the mix. Same thing for Case Alexander. Maybe that coaching change reduces that, and maybe they look at OU a little. Perhaps OU gets a bump there with the change in coaching staff at Iowa State. But yeah, I mean, it's not that they're backing off the offers. It's they've got so many kids at certain positions, and it's it just, especially at cornerback, it's getting tight. So they may not take or take or continue to recruit. I don't know this for a fact, but another cornerback verbal. And though you may not focus so heavily on Trent and Blaylock, Torrey's brother, because they're too stacked at cornerback. He may look at that and just decide, I'm going to go somewhere else, do my own thing. So there's things in play here. And again, guys, they have 11 commitments already. So 40% of the class is done.
And Urban, I would say this right here. Oh, obviously, I'm going to lean heavy on Chris Mason. Chris Mason. Hey, I'm not afraid to say it. He's right most of the time. But Chris Mason will tell you to come back to us in about 5 months, and then we'll be able to give you an even better answer, right? Like, it just varies. We've talked about a number of kids, and Jason can say that in the comments. We've talked about a handful of kids sent before the season started. Hatton was one. When Hatton committed to Texas A&M, we constantly talked about that kid. We talked about a couple of other kids that were not even on people's radar. Chris Mason was talking about it. We talked about it on the back end, but it's just one of those things. Is the ebb and flow. It's recruiting. You guys know that. Chris Mason. Oh, go ahead. Finish your point.
Yeah, it's just OU's doing well in state. I mean, the two top kids in state already verbal to OU. The number 3 kid in state is probably Gabriel Osborne by the time everything shakes out. He's heavily leaning to OU. So the top 3 kids in state all could be Sooners, and then you add Case Alexander to that mix. He's probably the 4th or 5th best kid in state, depending upon your view on Samaj Stanford. If OU gets the top 5 kids in state, then I think they've done what they need to do in state-wise. So, I mean, that's just what it is. If OU, 5 guys in state, that's a good haul, especially those 5 guys are all top 300 type players.
Yeah.
I know you can't usually rely on in-state to be that talented, so that's a good haul.
Chris Mason, I'll let you finish that point because I do want to say the ghost of Cale Gundy. That's actually pretty funny. Portal talk tonight.
Well, I need to recap real quick. The guys you should be. There's 5 names to watch over the next 30 days.
Okay, go ahead.
It could be Sooners. The first is Devin Robertson, a 6'2", 320-pound nose guard out of Mississippi. He visited for the LSU game. For the Missouri game. He's deciding on an all-star game in January. It looks like it's OU or Notre Dame, probably. Guys, Taven Epps was back on campus for the LSU game. He's pulling the trigger, I think, at a Topher, and you were correct. Devin Robertson is a dude. He is a brick wall in the middle of a defense, and he's got some push to him. He's a more athletic Dominic Williams. That's his ceiling. And then Taven Epps, Juju Johnson. Don't know why the cancellation on his December 1st commitment happened, but OU still seems to be leading there. He visited for LSU and was talking up OU left and right. Gabriel Osborne from Mustang. I think you may see something in 30 days. Jackson Roper, the offensive tackle offensive lineman from Colorado. He broke his leg 3 weeks ago. I think we could see an OU commitment from him in the next 30 days as well. So that would take OU to 16 commitments. And every one of the guys I just rattled off is Devin Robinson's not a top 300 player because guys just don't watch film. I don't get it. So he's a big-ass, fast Mississippi defensive tackle. Okay, Chris, I take as many of those guys as you can get.
Yeah, for sure.
So the other 4 are all top 200, with Johnson, Epps, and Osborne being top 300. They also had George Toya, not George Stoya from Sooner Scoop, George Toya from Dallas on campus for the LSU game. OU's making a move in that recruiting. He's a 6'3", 300-pound defensive tackle as well. From California previously, has major connections to Stacy Ford, and OU's getting involved with him. Todd Bates is getting involved with him. So there's just 5 more names that could fall to OU in the next 30 days. So, all right, Chris, so let's go to the portal.
Let's talk portal. which way do you want to go? Because they're asking for it. Which way do you want to go? Do you want to go?
Well, let's just talk about what we think OU's needs are right now.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you want to talk about like? Well, no, I think that's a little bit in poor taste right now. We should.
Well, I'm not going to X out players and say how many spots OU's getting.
Let's not just stir up a rumor mill or something like that. We just
Guys have a chance. Guys will start after OU plays Alabama. Guys will start announcing.
yeah
It's I think no one's announcing right now because Brent may even ask some kids, "Could you please hold off? I don't. I want to keep the team focused on the focus, right?" So obviously, Jaden Gibson announced, but he's not even on the roster. So okay,
yeah
good luck. Good luck. Hope he fixes his life up and goes from there. So there is only one guy who has visited in the portal OU to date. That is Josh Ford, the big tight end from Stillwater. He's got a top 5 list. OU's on it. There's some bigger names than I kind of thought. Alabama's on there. A couple other names. He's at a top 5. I don't know when he's going to decide, and I don't know if OU can pull off the whole come to Norman, and be the guy. So Topher, you are correct. That is the only, and he's already off the roster. When I did the roster recount, he was off. So I'm not going to go, guys. You can all speculate among yourselves about the names. Some names are very, very obvious. Some names are less obvious, and and there's some difficult conversations the OU staff has to have with probably a couple of kids about what's going on. But that will all make its way post the Bama game. In my opinion, I think that's what will happen. Topher, yeah, I could see Bama being the location for Ford. So, but here's Chris, and you can correct me and come back if you want. Here's what I think OU needs from a portal standpoint.
Go ahead.
They need an elite wide receiver if Satania returns. If not, they got to get 2.
Yes, I agree with that.
They got to get 2 tight ends. One who's more physical, who can play blocking, who can handle everything from a blocking standpoint at a high level, and then they need a 2-way guy who can threaten teams. They need 1 offensive guard. Again, I need 1 offensive guard. They need a center. And again, if any of the O-line guys that we think are in the mix hit the portal, you got to replace them. That's a 1 in, 1 out thing. So I don't know that he's leaving. I'm not asking him to leave. But for the sake of an example, if Heath Ozeta hits the portal and leaves, you've got to replace Heath Ozeta from the portal. It's a one. You gotta be even Steven with those O-line guys. We need 2 regardless, but we need to replace. If we lose guys, we need to replace guys. At defensive tackle, if you can find a guy, a defensive tackle would be ideal.
Put this guy on your radar. Give me a second.
The big Purdue guy?
Yeah, the big Purdue kid. That's what Sugio. Sugio said Purdue starter, D tackle, 6'3", 345 in the portal.
That may be a little big for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Guys, I literally know nothing about him. Not a thing. So, he could be. If you watch the breakdown video that Nagy did with the Oklahoma breakdown, he made it very clear that the scouting department is doing nothing but developing dossiers of players they want to recruit in the portal. They mentioned 2,000 players. They have scouting dossiers on 2,000 kids. So that no stone unturned, literally. I think they need a linebacker, at least 1. They may need more than that, depending upon the departures of Kip, Kobe, and Owen Heineke. And I think a cheetah or safety, years eligible being a big factor here. They could find a young kid like the Matai Tago'o. I just butchered that. The Matai Teo guy from USC, who's a redshirt freshman that was heavily interested in OU out of high school. He's 6'4", 210. If he's still 6'4", 210, then he could maybe fit in as Cheetah. His high school tape was all pretty much safety Cheetah-like. So that would be an example of somebody who you could add to the mix if they've got several years to play. Okay? Because I think that's one of those things. Cheetah and linebacker, if you can't pick up like a senior who could just walk in and know the OU defense, you got to get some guys with some years, right? From that perspective, you got to have some guys that can year one maybe they're not a big focus. Year two they blow up. So Chris, I have OU with about 8 to 9 portal spots right now.
The
I think D tackle over DN just because OU has 3 DNs enrolling early, and Nagy was clear that I think we need to say Creole. That's not cruel. It's Creole, right? Creole or Krell?
it sounded like Krell's what I think.
Krell. He said Krell's going to play, so and
So,
he's enrolling early, so that gives you more defensive help already.
okay, but here's where I'm at with it. First off, you didn't talk about running back. I think that you got to go and get you get you a running back out of it.
Yeah, but we don't know running back's leaving yet.
Yeah, yeah, I know that, but
That's a one for one swap.
that's
Okay, if a running back leaves,
yeah.
bring in a running back.
I mean, at the end of the well, obviously, Odd is done. We will see what happens with Barnes and Tatum. I guess that's where we're at. But I
Well,
think,
Barnes is done.
yeah, if those two are gone, I think you definitely got to bring in at least one more out of the portal. But the last two we haven't hit on, obviously, with Franklin and Ott. So you got to go get a guy. I'm not asking for 1,000-yard back. I'm asking for somebody that is durable, available, and ready to go. Right, somebody that could come in and because what I'm looking for mostly next year are is top 3 backs. Right,
Right.
X Rob leading the charge. You have Blaylock being a change of pace guy, improving, getting healthy, and then you have a Hatton or whoever the guy
And,
can.
and Nagy really likes Walker. He thought Walker was badly underranked.
Yeah,
He was talking about both of those running backs like he thinks they could help year one.
yeah. So I think you gotta look at that right there. Wide receiver position, 1,000% agree. I think that we are a couple of, and I think that we have some playmakers on the sideline for whatever reason. I know we talked kind of offline about some stuff or what's happened, but for whatever reason, um, I think we do have some playmakers there, but I know there's going to be some wide receivers that exit. So you do need to look and see around about maybe 2 or 3 guys. I think, and you can get some guys on some discounted prices or whatever. Go get some lower level guys like you did this year, but I
You
also
need 1 star.
need 1 star because I think that would help the offense an awful lot, giving Arbuckle and Mateer that guy. Clearly, we've seen them with the guy, a Kyle Williams guy like that, right? That can just go out there, stretch the field, do things. I think right now they're having to play differently, but that's mainly because you can rely on the defense a bunch. Speaking of defense, I think if you go to the defensive side of the ball, Chris Mason, I would say I think that you may need to look at with this whole Gentry thing. That's the thing that kind of gives me a little bit a little scared. Some of our guys do get a little bit banged up. You got to see. I mean, right now I'm interested to see what is the development of a Tristan Haynes, a Malik Hawkins. You got to think about Newcomb as well. He was going to play a big part in this. And that really has kind of spearheaded the whole maturation process for Davon Jordan. But I think that you may need to just look at corner, just look and see what's out there. I think,
If Gentry returns and he just had shoulder surgery, so he's looking at another rehab that takes him out of spring, right?
yeah,
He just had shoulder surgery. He's not going to be back by spring, right? I mean, that's probably the way shoulder surgery works, correct? I mean, generally speaking. Chris, with Gentry, OU has 8 cornerbacks on the roster.
yeah,
So Guillory, Jordan, Bowen, and Johnson all having played a lot. And
uh-huh.
Hawkins and Haynes coming off red shirts.
And Newcomb coming off an injury.
Yeah, I have Newcomb at Cheetah.
You have Nuka Machida. Okay.
But you're right. He could swing back to cornerback, depending if you add another Cheetah. So, and you have Johnson enrolling early, Derek Johnson from the high school class. So I just think with Guillory, Jordan, Bowen, and Johnson, you have to find a cornerback better than Bowen and Guillory in
I
the
would be
portal.
surprised if that was a spot where, again, like they did last year, they took a chance on themselves opposed to looking externally. You
Yeah,
go,
at safety you have six bodies: Bowen, Hardy, Bogo, Amarian, and Wimbley and Ford.
oh my God, hold on, real quick, people. Is this right? Kendall Browse is the new OC at
Yeah,
South Carolina.
yeah, it is.
Anyway,
One, what Flex Veer team number five on our in the SEC, or
wow.
maybe six. So at safety, I could see a guy, but again, you've got to get somebody who can compete with Bowen, Hardy, Bogo, and Amarian at the very least.
Yeah,
So you're talking your fourth or fifth option, and can you sign somebody for the money available that is willing to fit into that mix?
yeah. I'm
So that's the interesting part there.
your D
Um,
your DB room. You may be fine
because
there.
you've got Powers who can come back to safety, right? And if Newcomb's at if you pick up a guy who can play cheetah in the portal, that allows you to maybe move Powers back to safety or split them. I mean, there's some things going on there. Linebacker's a little linebacker when you look at the breakout from players is a little concerning, just because your only junior is Heim, your only sophomore is Nesta.
Yeah,
So you have four seniors returning next year: Omasigo, Lewis, McKenzie, and Heineke potentially. So
and then
how do you make that work? You
yeah.
know, NIL wise, ideally they should have found a way to redshirt Omasigo. I don't know how they would pull that off. But if he was a junior, I'd feel much better about the linebacker group moving forward. That's why they signed four backers this year, and why they might sign a linebacker with multiple years
In the portal.
in the portal, or if they get wiped out of senior linebackers, they're going to need to sign two, right? For every for if you lose two, so Heineke, Lewis, and McKenzie, if you lose one, I don't think you need to do anything but sign a linebacker who has a couple of years to help you later. If you lose two, you've got to sign another linebacker, and they've got to be a veteran, somebody who you could maybe someone who could come in the spring and maybe good enough from understanding, from a maturity standpoint, someone to have the green dot. The only guys who've had the green dot, as far as I know, are Kobe and Heineke this year.
So Jimmy Satterfield, he says it's going to be hard to replace Kendall Daniels. Of course,
Yeah,
I think though, I think Powers has that situated. I'll be fine to run out there with Powers, but I think that there will be some guys that you could go out there in the portal and get. And I think the biggest thing, and the biggest relief for that position is the simple fact that Wes Godwin is still on the staff. And Wes Godwin has expedited that learning curve for that because he knows that position inside and out, and he can teach that position from day one and get guys ready. I think that's what's really helped Kendall Daniels. We heard all the talk about Kendall Daniels. Has all the potential in the world, has a high upside, takes terrible angles, sometimes loafs on defense, gets lost in the sauce, doesn't really, not attention detail, doesn't tackle well, and that has not been a problem this year. That guy's went out there and definitely earned himself a payday in the league once that time comes. But Chris Mason, I would say for sure on that D line, I would say, yeah, if you can find a D tackle, and I'm not necessarily looking for a Stone or a Jackson. If you can find those guys, great. I'm looking for more like a Dejon Terry, um, um,
yeah, yeah.
Dejon Terry type guy, maybe just a big stuff for somebody who's a big hog molly, especially on those goal line, short yardage situations, to where you could pair them with Stoney or Jaden Jackson, where they get penetration early. They push the pile, they push the center, and they get penetration, and they, I would look for a guy like that just to run stuff, or somebody who's sitting there in that middle that you just like, hey, you got to earn it today. DN wise, only thing that I would say, Chris Mason, is that I do believe in the room just like you, but I think that if there's a guy out there, and maybe you're not necessarily looking for that superstar guy. I mean, obviously, if think Dylan Stewart is his name, if Dylan Stewart came open, of course I'd be like, please, my God. But if that name doesn't come in, go get a Trace Ford like guy. Go get somebody out of the portal that you can use, somebody that you can do. If I just think that bolster the roster, bring the competitive depth we've been screaming at for the last 4 years with BV, and it seems like these last 2 years that's actually come to fruition, right? So I think that
I mean, you've got a good four
got,
starting four. You got a good starting four.
yeah, you got
So
the starting four, and I think the whole thing is that Okoye and PJ next year are going to be pretty nasty. I believe. I think they're going to be making plays uh, opposite of Wine. But again, if you can go find a Marvin Jones Jr. type guy where you're just like, hey, we just need to work on the motor and everything else will come to fruition, I think that'll be fine as well too.
yeah, I mean, I think OU is in a much stronger position portal wise, right? We're no matter what happens with the Alabama game, OU's probably, and depending upon who leaves, as long as a couple of the linebackers stay, OU's going to be a preseason top 10 team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fact, guys. That's not going anywhere. I think you're right about Nesta. We just got to see a little bit more. Linebacker. I mean, there's like bachelor's degree linebacker school, right?
Yeah.
That's where you go. That's linebackers at places like, I don't know, what's a average defensive team in the SEC? I don't know, like Tennessee, right? Tennessee, although they fired their DC. Um, that's like bachelor degree linebacker school, right? So Brent Venables is like MBA masters linebacker school. So you gotta there's Nesta is well on his way to a bachelor's in linebacker. He's got to like graduate that and start to get into master's linebacker school. Um, if I maybe this analogy isn't working for you guys, but if you've been to college, if you go to undergrad's easy. You can punch that out. But masters, when you into a master's program, okay, things have changed a little bit. I mean, Jimmy, I love where you're thinking. I love what you're thinking. I'd love to go get him. I'd love to stick him into our linebacker group, but especially if we lost a couple of guys, I would poach. If we lost Heineke and Kip, I would poach the ever loving you know what out of shit to get Sammy Brown into Norman and get him ready for his NFL career by being coached by real linebackers, not the guys in Clemson screwing it up. So yeah, I mean, and guys don't think OU is not going to be looking at, if they start losing linebackers, they'll be sending out a flare to guys. You want to come be a star linebacker in Norman? Get your ass over here. So things get real interesting if we lose two of those three guys, right? As long as you got two of them, OU's fine. Along with Samuel Masigo, sign another guy, and we need Heim is also a wild card at Cheetah as well, because he played Cheetah previous spring and looked good at it. So can you kind of forget about him? Taylor Heim, 6'6", 225.
Yeah.
Athletic as all get out, big arms, coverage,
He's
lifts
a
off the overhang defender. There's a
yeah,
lot there that he could be Kendall Daniels 2.0.
yeah, he's a guy that could potentially fill that void. I think in linebacker, and this is what I'll say about linebacker. I had a friend. Shout out to that guy, Brandon. You're if you're watching this, just your barbecue is terrible. Regardless, though, he came into the season. He texted me every single chance he got and said, "Man, I'm a little bit scared about our linebacker depth." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Man, we got Kobe, we got Kip, we got Sammy O." I was like, there's a couple of kids that they're talking about is going to be big. I did not predict Heineke was going to have the year that he is having.
Nah.
Um, and the whole thing was, I told him, I said, I'm confident because linebacker, I know one damn thing about this OU team. Coming off of a 6-7 year last year, coming off all the doubts and all the hate, and all the rest of that stuff. I said, I know this defense is going to be really damn good, and I think they're going to be better than last year. And the last thing that I would really be worried about is linebackers. Brent Venables is there. Wes Godwin is there. There's a reason he went and got Nate Dry.
And Nate Dryling's an upgrade over what we had before. He is.
Exactly. So I was just like, I feel like they're gonna figure that out. Well, we're young, we're this, we're that. We've been damn good at linebacker this year, and that has been a big part of it. And I forgot who that guy was, who the hell ever, who that reporter right there who's saying Texas Tech has the best front six in the nation. My God, you could not be any more wrong than you already are. That is ridiculous. That's that's crazy, man.
I mean, it's Big 12 good. It's the best in the Big 12.
Uh,
But
yeah,
we know what the hell that means.
and I think Texas Tech is a good team. I'm not gonna sit here and act like they don't play really good team defense. They do, but let's be real now. Let's be
I
real.
mean, they lost to Arizona State, who lost to Mississippi State.
Chris Mason, here's a question right here. I think we can kind of end it right here. Just with
Yeah.
talk, unless you got some more speculation.
No, not on portal stuff. High school stuff is we need some stuff to percolate a little bit more.
Gotcha.
But
All right.
yeah.
Boomer 129 says, "Do we take a quarterback in the portal? And is the Arizona kid available?" This has been asked a couple of times.
Well, the second question, yes, the Levitt kid's available. I mean, Dillingham was all but throwing dirt on him at their football banquet. I wish the kid luck in his future endeavors. So he's gone. Would OU? I mean, just remember, OU has a salary cap. So if you take Levitt, you have to jettison Mateer. That's the reality. You can't have Levitt and Mateer on the same roster. There's no way Jim Nagy is going to manage our salary cap that way. At all. Not happening. Not going to go. Not going to occur that way. Okay? So that's
Linebacker, yeah. He is.
well, yeah, but he's not going to pop in the portal.
Yeah, I mean,
I wish I'll avoid making an embarrassing comment. But anyway, we have 5 quarterbacks on roster if no one leaves. That is you don't need a 6th kid. So someone's going to have to leave, and then the Mateer situation. Let's get past the Bama game and see where we are. Okay, if everyone universally agrees that Mateer loses us the Bama game, plays like crap, and you need to reevaluate where you are, then yeah, you could have a conversation with Mateer and Sam Levitt. He's not taking a pay cut. Breadthrough in 2 quarterbacks, Bevo's bodyguard. That's rich coming from Texas about ruining quarterbacks. That's awfully rich.
Don't listen to him. He lost Trey Owens today and don't even realize.
Well, Trey Owens looks like he belongs on the 1969. When you see his haircut, his picture looks like he belongs on one of the all-white UT teams for the 1960s. So so you could jump in a time machine and maybe do that. I don't know why people. It's sort of taken a life of its own that Kobe's going to jump this year. He's obviously never said anything. It's just he's been in the program 4 years. I think. Is he maxed out? I don't think he is. He played much better this year than any year before that. So I don't know, but I don't think OU's going to take a transfer quarterback, but talk to me after the Alabama game and maybe I'll be singing a different tune. Or I'll be saying, no, did you just watch the Bama game? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I don't think OU's actively looking for a quarterback right now.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't. That would not be where I would think Nagy is, because he's got some cost stability built in with his Mateer 2-year deal. Don't have to renegotiate that. Doesn't have to go back and compete with other folks. I mean, guys, money. Trey Owens would start at OU. Okay, that's funny. I didn't realize you had that kind of humor in you. So I don't think OU's looking for a quarterback. But again, talk to me after the Alabama game. So, other than that, okay, Hall of Fame. This is recruiting, not the offensive, the regular season offensive review show. So we'll go.
Some people optimism.
It's
been 20 days between that and this right here, man. We can make a real run, man. I believe
it's 11 days until we got to play football again. We're going to have healthy running backs. Could make a world of difference.
That can make a world of difference.
So,
and if we can, please hit some more of that mid zone, because that looked to work pretty damn well in that LSU.
Look at those plays that worked, dump the plays that don't work, and go from there. So, but yeah, overall, I would say the top two requirements where the most of your cash should go in the portal are an elite wide receiver, an elite two-way tight end.
I'll keep going, Chris Mason. I'm listening.
And then after that, if you lose some senior linebackers, then it would be a linebacker, the best linebacker you can bring in, who you think can run this defense. Be the green. It's the green dot I'm worried about. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, only 2 guys have worn the green dot to be able to organize our defense play over play. The Mike linebacker is the brain of our defense on the field and on the turf. And only 2 guys have worn the green dot, Heineke and Kobe. If you lose both of those, you got to find somebody who can be that brain of the linebacker room. And Kip and Omasigo, they've got a whole off season to adjust, and I think both those guys have been in the program long enough they could. But that's the concern. You got to have one guy coming back, and like I said, technically Owen Heineke's looking for like a waiver to come back. He is technically a redshirt senior. He played 1 year at Ohio State lacrosse. He redshirted at when he first came to Norman in 22. So he was a redshirt sophomore in 23, redshirt junior in 24. He's technically a redshirt senior. And OU is trying to get the lacrosse year back.
Which is crazy that, there's plenty of players. I mean, hell, this is what I don't get by the NCAA. There's literally a wide receiver right now that what he's 28 years old or whatever at Arkansas and came back. Well, that's a little bit different, because I don't think that he just went to the minor leagues and went to the majors for a little bit and then ended up just going to college, right? But there's plenty of stories with kids who play different sports and ended up coming back and still having eligibility left. So I don't know. And they're going to drag that out for forever. So hopefully they get that done early for that kid. Hopefully
get some answers before we don't have if you don't have an answer by January 1st, you've got to presume you're losing him, right? So you've got to get a replacement in the portal. So that's something else to watch as well. So there's some stories to watch from that perspective, in terms of it. But after those are the 3 pieces. If you want to make a national championship run next year. Mm-hmm. We're in the national championship run this year. We're in the playoffs. We are technically in the race for the national championships, however you want to spin it. But if you want to be a solid team to do that next year, I think an elite wide receiver, an elite tight end, and backfilling whatever we need at linebacker if we lose two of those guys. That's the big deals. We need another offensive guard and another offensive center.
So yeah, that was the last thing I was going to say. I was like,
We,
honestly,
we need we need those guys, but we have starters at those positions for
we
the
have,
most part.
but we've been injured. We've been
Well, no,
injured,
you can't, but you can't spend. We're not going to spend elite money on second team centers and guards.
and I'm not asking them to, but that's a position of high importance.
No, you're right. We need numbers. We got to have those two guys come in, and we
And,
got to replace anybody. Anybody leaves, we got to place. We got to bring somebody in.
and I get what you're saying because you're stuck between a rock and a hard place simply because you don't want to go and overspend, but you also don't want to go get the G5 All Star. Shout out to my guy Brady Trentham for that, for coining that phrase. But you don't want to
No,
go.
you are. You need, and hope. And like I said, the this will be the first Nagy portal class, right? And Nagy did nothing but find gems in the lower classes, to a lower division. Sorry, lower class is a terrible term. Lower divisions into the Senior Bowl, right?
Yeah.
He routinely found guys and put them in the Senior Bowl, and NFL scouts were like, well, who the hell are these guys? And they'd be drafted. So if he can apply that same methodology, then maybe he can get us some guys who will end up being more of the, well, that guy, played at a lower level, but he's doing fantastic. More of the Ahmad Hardys of the world than the, you know, than some of the guys that have just come in from other lower programs and didn't do a whole lot for us. So it's a balancing act, and everybody's going to be doing it, right?
Yeah.
So
I was going
yeah,
to say, all right, people, look, we've been on here for damn near an hour giving you the
yep.
facts, giving you the news, giving you answers to some of your questions. We've done it all. We've even, entertained Bevo for a little bit. He wants everybody to be pissed off because he's pissed off because,
Do we
well,
have a, do we have a graphic for Bevo? Can you put one? Can you?
he's I look. I sometimes I forget that Bevo is even gonna come in here. He hid out for like 3 weeks when everything. you know, Bevo was on a milk
we,
cart.
we we set out search parties for him.
Yeah, where's Bevo? We didn't see Ben G tonight. That's surprising. I thought Ben G would be in here, but shout out to our Texas brethren, man. Y'all
Yep.
will be playing Michigan in the Cheez-It Bowl without a lot of your key players, and we will be playing in the college football playoffs. So, with that being said, people, look, we will be back. I think maybe Thursday or so with Jason for our big show. We'll start talking some
Some
Bama.
Bama, but some season review stuff. Some season review.
Uh,
Chance to look back at why OU went 10-2 rather than 6-6.
oh yeah. And well, we'll play a drinking game too every time Jason says Mateer sucks. I think that if you may want to start out light because I think Jason may put you over. You may black out. With that, being said,
it is what it is. The offense has not been what we thought it was going to be. So
with that being said, people, we'll talk to you guys soon. We're out of